I've got one that can see.
Logic before authority.
Hi guys, this is Daniel Alexander Cannon here on Logic Before Authority. What I've got to show you today is going to boggle your mind, because it is and has and is mine. The research that I have been able to pull together, and it needs to be more dug into this, but in my last video, if you haven't seen it, you're not going to completely understand what I'm talking about in this video. But I told you in my last video that when this event took place, it was a high ritual that signified the opening of the pit. Okay, you remember that? But there's questions. There's questions. The opening of the pit, the locusts coming out with stings, stinging everybody all around the world, right? Not locusts as in an insect, something that there's many of them that are flying. And I went through the whole thing, explain it to you, and I may touch on some of it, but I've got to get to what I've got to show you here. Now, some of you said, and the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven. Okay? And he was given the key to open the bottomless pit. The star, okay? Now, stars are not what we were told growing up. It's time to realize that. And there's still going to be people dispute everything I say, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to tell those of you that are seeking the truth, that have eyes to see and ears to hear, you're going to see it and hear it. Okay? But there was a star that fell. This proceeded the smoke like out of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened. Okay, you see this? This was a high ritual, okay? And so what I said to myself, I said, self, if there was a star that fell, it would have preceded 9/11, okay? And the Bible is always right. And so I listened to that inner voice in my head, and when I questioned myself in this way, the answer was given to me. It was Comet Hale-Bopp. It was Comet Hale-Bopp. This one that was shown in the 1995 Illuminati card game even. Okay? Look what it says about Comet Hale-Bopp, right? It said it's that flaming yield sign, like a yield sign saying, whoa. It's that flaming yield sign from the heavens telling you the last days are near. Okay, I'll read the rest of this, but that right there is a lot. And I'm going to show you. Most of y'all guys remember this. I remember seeing this. I was in Idaho. I was standing in the backyard. It was starting to get evening time, and I seen it in the sky. And we're going to look at it here as well in just a second. But let's read the rest of this real quick. Play this card immediately after a rival takes control of a group from his hand or the uncontrolled area. That group went a little overboard in their newfound adoration. And, well, they're no longer with us. They are destroyed, but this destruction does not count toward any goal. This requires an action from the Illuminati or two church groups. Now, I'm not going to get into this in much detail as I am. They literally, because this card game depicted also the two towers going down. And what the two towers were, they symbolized DNA. They symbolized man and woman as being two separate creations, okay? It's man and woman, okay? And what their goal has always been, going back to Babylon and every other reset that has taken place in this world, is that they've been trying to put man and woman back together again, and understand the tree of life, which is talked about in Genesis, okay? The tree in the garden that's mentioned, the tree of life. Also, of course, there's the tree of knowledge of good and evil, but then there's the tree of life. And then in Babylon, when they all came together and they all had the same language, God's, what's the word? He separated their languages and scattered them, okay? Because he said they're going to be able to do anything, nothing that's going to stand in their way, because they were going to do what they have done now, and they have done it. Now, they're ultimately not going to get away with it, but they've done it. See, the Twin Towers coming down, this was symbolizing them destroying the man and woman, okay? Meaning they had learned how to alter the DNA of man and woman. This is the thing that has enraged Father in heaven every time, over and over and over. Has it not? The altering of the DNA. Like Noah, he was the only one pure in his generation. He was not altered. I'm going to slide another image up here for you. Now what they've done is they combined the two towers together. They've put man and woman together. Okay? And they have learned how to alter DNA. What have they been bragging about now for years? That, the mRNA. They've learned how to manipulate the RNA. What did I tell you in one of my previous videos about the DNA queen? And that they're wanting to tie everything to your DNA. But your DNA that they're going to want to see, in order for you to be able to buy and sell, you're going to have to be altered. You're going to have no longer have Father's code. You're going to have the fallen code, okay? The code of Hasatan is what you're going to have. What they did with this building, if you look at it, of course, it is the two towers put together as one. This represents man and woman being put together. I've said this in the past. I probably said it about a year ago. And all this research that I'm able to do because of y'all guys' support is coming together piece by piece by piece, and it's coming fast. Holy smokes. Now, it's interesting. One thing that popped in my mind about Hellbop was, one, when was it the brightest? It was the brightest in April, the new year, the true new year. And also April, we know what happened during April, okay? Or at least we believe we do, because that's when Passover and all that stuff is at, and it's just blowing my mind. Has to do with Christ. Now, I also said, okay, when was the last time Hellbop supposedly would have came around based on what they know or what somebody knows, right? And it's 4,200 years. And it was starting around 2200 BC. So 4,200 years ago. It was most likely lasted the entire 22nd century BC. It has been hypothesized to have caused the collapse of the old kingdom of Egypt, the Akkadian Empire in Mesopotamia. They say that they claim, and I'm not claiming what they're saying here is exactly the way it is, But I find it absolutely fascinating that this was a major, what followed when it came by before was a major drought, okay, is what they're saying. It's what followed was climate change. And yeah, I can't believe it. So that is what they're talking about. They're hinting about. And yes, I'm aware that they are doing most of the affecting things and stuff, but there's something else to this. And how do most people say when you talk to them about how old is the world and this and that? A lot of people will say 4,000 years. And that just blows my mind. Now, let's go look at some more things. Because if that don't get your blood pumping, well, your blood's just not pumping. Okay. And it also made me think about the key being given. And the keys, they love to give keys, put it that way. Here's all these different times that Mr. T received keys on the left and gave keys on the right to different people around the world. Okay. And basically all the presidents, going all the way back to Bush, who had just taken office in the spring of 2001, he also received keys. It's symbolic. Okay. But they know this cycle, this 4,200 year cycle. They knew it. That's why they put it on the Illuminati playing card. They know it. They know this cycle. They know time is short. All right. So let's talk about a few things, a few related subjects. Okay. Let's see this. Oh gosh, my brain is about blowing up. The Anglo-Saxons, they had what was called the Mede, somebody's already saying it probably. The English, okay, Sax, the Saxons were, it's related to the fact that they carried a knife, a type of knife that is where the word Sax comes from. They were a warring, conquering kind of people, which all comes again from the Edomites, okay? Comes up from Esau. And what was Esau? Esau was, in fact, I believe, the creation of the entreatment of a fallen angel with Rebekah, Isaac's wife. Yeah. And I bet the timelines with that event going on in the 4,200 year cycle, I think there's something to it. This is well, now why can't I remember the actual name of this? The Mede something. Now, where did I? Oh God, I've got so many tabs open on the other screen. All right, let's just skip that for now. Okay. What I was doing was comparing. You know what this is? This is the so-called ballroom that's being built, right? Big celebration ballroom. And I was comparing it to the old style that the Anglo-Saxons built for when they would have meetings and when all the controllers and rich people and ultimately the Edomites and the Anglo-Saxons, which are one and the same, got together. They would have a place built like this. Like it would have 8 chandeliers, 4 on one side, 4 on the other. Just happens to be what is being built right now. It would be surrounded by pillars, have all these pillars. Just happens to be what's in here. All the architecture is the same. You familiar with this guy? J.R.R. Tolkien, Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings, right? He was, of course, the writer of Lord of the Rings, but he was also, he was the Merton Professor of English Language and Literature. Okay? He was also the Rawlings and Bosworth, if this will behave, Rawlings and Bosworth, Professor of Anglo-Saxon and Fellow of Pembroke College. Professor of Anglo-Saxon. He was a researcher that researched deep into the Anglo-Saxon history and the English language, or the Anglo is the same thing. They just changed the spelling of it, so we wouldn't know. We speak the language literally of the Anglo-Saxons, which ultimately is Esau, goes back to Edom. Unbelievable. Lord of the Rings. And it made me think, I wonder if Trump has ever been given a Lord of the Rings kind of ring. Well, let's see. Oh, yeah, a week ago. Yeah, a week ago. A week ago, Trump got this given to him. Yeah, we're going to have a better look. That's the ring given to Mr. T. Check it out. It was custom made for him. It has a T on one side and a D on the other side. And right here, see if you can see it on here. No, this is the best one. Right here on the front, it says 45 and 47, which is 9/11, right on it. And then on the ring itself, right on top, you can see what it says. E pluribus unum, out of many, one, meaning the New World Order, where they're going to take over the entire world and make a new world order, right on his ring. Of course, you got the eagle. You got the spears, holding all the tips of the spears in the hand. And supposedly it's valued at $1 million. Yeah. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the pillars, okay, where this comes from. We know who we're dealing with, right? You know right away that this is Masonic and occult type imagery that I'm showing you at the moment. Now, you see on the left, you have the sun on top of the tower, on the pillar. On the right, you have the moon on top of the pillar. The moon is feminine. The sun is masculine. Okay? This symbol they use all the time, and this is just another example of it. Sun on the left, moon on the right. Okay? This symbol right here with the G in the middle, the G means generative. It doesn't mean God. It means generative. And it has to do with DNA. And the compass in the square is the man, is the male side. Compass, see the square, it's used to make corners. It's like the male body, it's based on angles. The female body is based on curves, and that's why the compass is here. Okay? And this literally is the physical symbolism for an act of sex. Okay? It's the female mounted on top of the man. Literally is what this is. And there's a lot of other things I could say here in relation to this, but This has to do with the bringing down of the two towers and bringing back up a single tower. And we've all seen them doing this. They wear the aprons to cover up their genitive area, or genital area. That's why they wear it looks just like your Google or your Gmail, right? Your generative mail. It's your Gmail, but they use it to cover up their genitals. This is all about DNA. It's all about generative. It's all about their goal to put man and woman back together again. And when they raised the One World Trade Tower, they were proclaiming they had done it. Literally, when they tore it down, they were proclaiming it, but literal success. Now, you would find people like Barron, that's 7 foot tall, that was born right after that period. Right after the One World Trade Tower was put up, Barron was born. He's 7 foot tall, like approximately now. This is a coat of arms for the Anglo-Saxons. They have different ones, but this is one. You can see the helmet just like Mr. T has on his coat of arms. The helmet, the symbolism for water, which is time. And then, of course, you have the shield here, okay, with the what's this called? Not crescent, but slipping my mind. But with Trump's, it has 3 on it. It has 3 of these chevrons, I think is what they're called. Yeah, chevrons. Okay, so it's very, very similar to Mr. T's coat of arms, right? And why am I being text right now? So now here is something that's related to as well, which is talking about male and female, okay? And then what's called the unity of the two, which is Metatron. Notice the pointing down and pointing up arrows, which is related to the Jewish star and all this kind of stuff, okay? And you can also see here, when the Egyptians were trying to put man and woman back together again, they would carry one of these symbols in their hand, which is the male and the female being joined. It meant unity. It's the female on top with the womb, and here's the male single phallic symbol. But this was symbolizing the unity, the putting back together of man and woman again, which the Egyptians were trying to do too. And then Comet Hale-Bopp showed up. A star fell from heaven. Here's the Satanic Bible, which was produced by Aleister Crowley. And of course, you have the 2 pillars, and you have the spread wings with the circle in the middle, which has to do, it's a sexual symbol. All this is sexual symbolism. And it also is an eclipse. That symbolizes an eclipse. Have we seen any of those lately? I think we have. And we've talked about it all, and we were all right. Now here is when so-called Queen Elizabeth was still alive, they brought in the orb, and they had a little ceremony showing us that they had put man and woman back together again in her 70th year jubilee. And they had a 70-foot tall tree, and they celebrated 70 ancient woodlands and 70 trees on her 70th anniversary. And that just happens to match Saturn's cube. This is what's called Saturn's cube, which is also called the unity of man and woman, putting man and woman back together again, which I just showed you. Go back over there real quick. The tetrahedron, that's where this comes from. This is the male energy, the upwards pointing green triangle, and the female energy, the lighter green triangle pointing downward. That's the female. And this is the winding of the DNA is what this symbolizes as well. How the DNA winds to get, when you have the male and the female together, you have what's called a triple helix DNA. Humans have double helix DNA. But they celebrated in this right here the fact that they had put man and woman back together again. And what I want you to do is pay attention to how many points of light are racing towards the top. There's 3. See the 3? There's one there, there's one there, and there's one right there. It's the triple helix DNA, man and woman put together again. So that they're trying to be God. They're trying to dethrone God, the true Father in heaven. And there's your 70-foot tree. You can see at the base of it, it's triple helix wound DNA, the man and woman put back together again. The tree of life talked about in Genesis. Here's some information on sacred geometry. If you've never heard of it or researched it, it is said to have been the most valuable thing that existed inside Solomon's temple. I would thought they would have said the Ark of the Covenant, but supposedly this is it. Well, of course, that could be debated, but anyways, this is all about life itself and also DNA and everything to do with everything. Even the weather is based off of this geometry. Even it's just everything. Okay. Metatron's cube. Saturn's cube. And of course, this is the cube, the same cube right here. Operation Warp Speed. Where it went out, they were using mRNA. They're looking to change the DNA. That's what they're doing. And they're getting ready to come out with DNA coin. They might not use that word, but it's gonna be symbolizing it. You can see the 3 7s on here. There's a 7 here. There's a 7 here. And there's a 7 here as well. 3 7s. Right on the cube. And it is also symbolized on here, the Abrahamic Accord coin, temple coin, which they show all of the technology. They show the needles. They show the needles dripping out and dripping down. They show the satellites, all the technology, the mRNA and all that. And they show even Saturn. They believe they get peace through conquering and dethroning God. This is the peace they want. Now, why do they really want this? It's because they're damned. The people that embody the bodies that are doing this, they're all of the fallen. They look kind of like us, but they're not like us. We're the seed that they're trying to destroy. We are the seed that they are trying to destroy. It's that flaming yield sign from the heavens telling you the last days are near. So in 1997, this was in April of 1997, when you stood up out there and looked at Hell Bob, what you were seeing was an angel star falling from heaven. And was a great omen. And I knew there was something extremely special about it. And I've talked about comets they're not comets, they're deities. They're angels, okay? Just like the stars are angels. There are different types of angels. Even the Bible says there are all these different types. I do hope that this has showed you something great. I give all the credit to my Father in heaven, but I do greatly appreciate y'all guys supporting my work. It allows me to be a little stress-free. It doesn't allow me to have a perfect situation, because I don't. I'm still trying to find a vehicle that's dependable. If you know anybody that's got something, maybe we could work out a deal somehow. But I'm in South Carolina is the thing, so you got to keep that in mind. Got to be within a reasonable drive, unless we could get it shipped. But I'm not talking about necessarily something for free, I'm not talking about that. Oh my goodness, what an amazing ride today has been. Even the last, it's just intensifying every day. One last thing, I want to say thank you to Benjamin T. and Robin W. and Brett M., Kimberly G., Karen J., Robin W. again, Nicole D., Sandra R., Diane M., Julie M., Bill A., Gerard F., and Robin W. again for supporting my work this month. This is what it's produced. And you can be a producer actually of my work because you help produce it if you choose by simply making any amount of a donation and make whatever you want to donate each month, and it can be a different amount, and it helps me. I ain't after the money, but I have to have some to survive. You understand? I ain't trying to get rich. I'm trying to save the world. I'm trying to tell the world what's happening so that people understand better. People are so lost. So many people are so lost. But if you become a producer, you'll be included in the credits like here.
I've got one that can see.
Logic Before Authority.